Do you know this is a classroom for bees where they are being trained for a special purpose? Do you know why these bees are sitting inside the circuit boards? What will they do after getting trained? You will be shocked to know that these bees act as digital sensors after completing the training. It is a sensor that can easily detect explosives and drugs. It is quite difficult to imagine and understand how an insect as small as a bee can effectively detect drugs and explosives and then send signals to humans efficiently. But it is real and possible. Welcome back to the Gear Kit channel. The training starts at the beehive, where the bees are first selected using a device. After being collected in this device, they are transferred to the lab where their training process begins. After they come out of the hive, they become very violent. So, to reduce their movement, they are cooled by placing them in a refrigerator. After cooling, they are placed in handheld harnesses where they cannot fly, but their faces are exposed. They are now left in the harness for 30 minutes to acclimatize to the new environment. Loading the harness by hand is a very time-consuming process. So, some laboratories use machines for this purpose. Now they are trained for the next 2 days. This training is similar to how dogs are trained to detect drugs and explosives. The sense of smell of bees is very strong like that of dogs. Both of these creatures are capable of sniffing out their target from miles away. If dogs need training to detect explosives, they are forced to sniff them from a very young age. Every time the dog sniffs, it is given some food as a reward. It is made sure not to feed the dog until they sniff the explosives. Gradually, the dog learns that whenever he sniffs the explosives, he will be fed. Because of this psychology, it is now easier to use dogs at airports to detect explosives. Whenever he sniffs explosives in any item, he habitually sticks his tongue out in front of his owner or trainer and then is rewarded with food. In case the item does not contain an explosive, the owner first gives him an explosive to sniff before feeding him. But how do bees do this? How do they tell humans they've smelt explosives or drugs? As we all know, bees suck the flower nectar. As soon as they smell the flowers, they stick out their tongues. The tongue acts like a straw, using which they can suck up liquids. It is not difficult to change the habit of sticking out the tongue at the smell of a flower. When the bees get tired after being harnessed, they are then shortlisted. A cotton bud dipped in sweet liquid is placed in front of them for shortlisting. Bees who are interested in sucking the sweet water stick out their tongues. This is where these bees are sent to the next stage of training after being shortlisted. Now, these shortlisted bees smell the vapors of the explosives for 6 seconds, and in the last 3 seconds, they are given a cotton bud dipped in sweet water. This process of being done by an automated machine. Bees become trained after a few hours. They learn that after this particular smell of explosives, they will receive sweet water as a reward. So, after smelling that particular smell, their tongue sticks out automatically. These bees are now fully trained and released into a container after being removed from the harness. And the same training is given to the second batch of bees. This training can be given to them on explosive powders as well as all kinds of drugs. But the problem is that humans can see the specific reaction of bees through a microscope, and it is practically impossible in airports and sensitive areas. Something would have to be done so that the machines could detect the bees sticking out their tongues after smelling the explosives. There are many ways to do this. One of them is video processing. Yes, after the bees are set in the harness, they are placed in a monitoring device. The micro camera inside this device detects the tongues of the bees through AI video processing, and this signal immediately shows an alarm on the screen. Then, through this same machine, sweet water cotton is placed in front of them as a reward. In addition to cameras, bees' responses can be recorded using infrared light. An infrared light is placed just below their face so that whenever the tongue sticks out, the light from the sensor will be dim. For this, the light sensor understands that their tongue is now out. The same method is used for 36 bees, and they are placed inside a handheld machine which the security staff places in front of the passenger's bag for 6 seconds. If there are drugs or explosives, a red alarm will immediately appear on the screen. If we compare the strength of dogs and bees, there is a huge difference. Dogs take years to train, while bees are being trained in the hours. Not only this, but the cost to train the bees is much less than that of dogs. There are also many cases where the use of dogs is impossible, such as searching for underground mines. These mines are detonated if the weight is placed on them. And of course, dogs can't do this without putting the weight. For this purpose, trained bees are released there and observed by drones. If they smell explosives from somewhere, they start moving around that area, hoping to get sweet water. The reactions of the bees can be seen live through the camera, and after the experts reward the bees with water, they defuse the mines at the site. Dogs and bees are not the only animals that are trained and used for security purposes to this day, but there are many other animals that have been used for military operations throughout history, and it was very beneficial for them. That is it for this video. Please like and share this video of GearKit channel as much as possible. Thank you so much for your kind comments. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.